In the world of psychology, we have consciousness and we have unconsciousness. And psychology developed a little bit by saying that the unconscious is important. That which we chuck away could come back to bother us. But it didn't really develop that far beyond that. We have, in the way our consciousness tries to control the experience of being alive, a lot of stuff that we throw away into the emptiness. It doesn't exist. As if we could say it doesn't exist, as if we could do that. It didn't happen. It's not there. I'm not afraid. I won't look at this. As if not looking like a child makes it go away. You know, a 2-year-old doesn't want to see something. No, the 2-year-old that wants to hide will go like this. Because if you can't see him, if he can't see you, he's invisible. So we do this as adults with stuff that we don't want to deal with. This means that in a process of emptiness, which is a process of liberation and self-realization, a lot of fears can arise. Fears of things that have been chucked in the emptiness, chucked away. But there is no away. Away is outside of perception. Some of our greatest fears, one of our greatest fears, of course, and we're all doing it, partly in order to be able to function, is the fear of death. Either of ourselves or another. As if it could be prevented by not looking at it, by not allowing it. As if, in our case, we don't die. This body will stay. As long as we go like this, it's not going to get us. In any moment now. It's not like we have to be unafraid of death, but this is a process of living to allow even the transience of the body, which is a fact. It's one of the certainties. At the core of every fear is pure liberation. Meaning, when we move with our perception through emptiness, and let's say, just as an example, we meet the fear of death, of mortality, and it's just one example. It can be rejection, abandonment, betrayal, insanity. That we know the fears. We each have our own concoction, you know, which we're working with, which is a great service to others. So let's say we're moving through emptiness and we meet this fear of death, which is an old fear that we chucked into the emptiness. There is a factor of patience and time, because in a way, it is alive. It's always been there. It comes to life. It seems to come to life from our perspective because we haven't been looking there. And it's suddenly coming before us. In such a way that the death, the physical death, is more terrifying, or more absolute, or more powerful than the life which is witnessing it, witnessing the fear. So the fear becomes stronger, becomes the boss over the existence which is feeling the fear, over you who can feel the fear. This is a process of emptiness, because what we're actually observing or allowing is that also the body will pass. Also the body is in time. Also it's in space. Also for us. We're all together in that. At a certain stage, because we stay in the fear, or stay in the experience, we allow it this thing which has been thrown into the emptiness to come back inside. At a certain stage, with the cooking process, it becomes clear that we are the one, the source of death, source of life, we are the life. So we are the source of the death. We are more than this fear. We're even more than our physical death. This is a process of realization. And in this way we move to the core of the fear, and the fear becomes liberated. It doesn't mean it won't confront us a lot later on, but its hold on our perception, on what we're allowed to feel and what we're allowed to experience, and on where we can move with courage and service is released. It means we have the courage to recognize maybe that we're dying, or to be with another when they're dying. It means we have the empathy to allow the grief of another, because it has become free, this fear, it's realized. That's one example of the kind of processes of emptiness which lead to, basically to liberation. Now the stuff that we throw into the emptiness is very much connected with our karma, with our life service, because each one has his own thing that he chucks out, that we don't let exist, that's not allowed to be there. Sooner or later, and it doesn't matter if we meditate or not, sooner or later we will meet this. It's ours. It can be through playing out in the world, it can be just through the area of feeling, but sooner or later it will come, this old friend that we don't look at. Every moment that we're able to allow and accept these fears or these, at first it seems like horrors, or these sufferings, into the whole, into the unity, is an incredible service. It brings a reward. To the whole. When we really allow suffering to the depths, we really allow it to be in us, through us, to take us over, to surrender to any kind of suffering, a kind of magic happens. And this is a kind of alchemy where suffering turns to passion. And passion and suffering, they actually mean the same thing. The passion of Christ. There is a switch. And in this passion, it kind of happens like this. You have your personal suffering, let's say with the issue of addiction, or family members who have died by alcoholism or whatever. At a certain stage, the roots of this, you could come into emptiness, the roots of this emerge, the incredible pit, unending pit of need, or another kind of emptiness, hollowness. Truly allow it. Within the truly allowing it, what becomes clear is this suffering has no name, no person attached to it, no ego, it's not yours, it's just suffering. It's a flavor of pain. It belongs to the whole. And with the release of this person which you've been carrying, this ego, is born this passion to be of service to the whole. And the passion is very, very, very powerful. To make a bit of difference in whatever area, whether it's, like this example, addiction. For some people it's working with dying people or with grief. Whatever it is, abuse. The passion rises with a power for life.
Nature can be everything.
form begins to emerge again of itself, which is very much attuned to your purpose. As it rises, passes, begins to take form, passes through the whole home area, Hara, the mother, or the universe, comes into the heart level. At any stage we could get hooked. Okay, I'm now going to be a grief therapist, yeah. But then we go back again, and the ego burns and it rises again. This is the cycle. It's totally okay also. That's part of a process. But as it rises and begins to be expressed in the world, the passion is felt as ecstasy. The ecstasy of being, manifesting. Quite unconditional happiness. Happiness to be of service. Happiness to be in life. And it rises, continues rising. It's a bit like a torpedo. Quite unconditional to your own financial survival. And at the level of consciousness where things are structured and put to plan, maybe a business plan, this, that, what often comes forward is bliss. The bliss of being conscious, awake, making a difference, having an impact. The bliss of creating a better world. You know, we often talk about creating a reality as a bad thing, which it often is. But there's a great bliss in creating a reality which is of service. Which isn't the absolute reality, but is of service to the whole.